Hi, this is Shioli and welcome to Clearcast. Today we have a Women's Day special episode with Nancy Goyal.
Hi everyone, this is Nancy. I am designated partner and director at Practive Consulting and Training LLP.
What inspired you to become an entrepreneur? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
I'm born and brought up in Barnala. That's a very small town in Punjab. And then we shifted, after 7 years, we shifted to Ludhiana. Ludhiana is a manufacturing hub. They say Manchester United of India. That's what Ludhiana is all about. So we are from a business family, and I've been inspired by people all around me who have been entrepreneurs. My family, my extended family, and everyone else. All males.
Oh, wow.
And that brings me to the part where I must say I'm from a conservative family where education for women was more or less like, I still remember my dadi's words that you do MPhil and you teacher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what she used to say. And the reason now that I understand is a teacher's job is from 9 to 2. You come back home, you're earning, you're coming back home on time and then taking care of the kids and other things, right? So that's a family I come from. My father has been instrumental enough in helping me go for engineering, go out of the city and study bachelor's. I am a graduate in computer engineering. I then took job as an engineer. First one to go out and pursue job in my family, and that to first female.
Oh, wow. That's
Not just first person, but first female. And from there on, I continued working, but somewhere coming from entrepreneurship background and the way I've seen my family growing up in business, I realized that this is something that's not my calling. I want to do something of my own.
Just to tap into your background a little bit, you said you were the first woman in your family to be able to go out and do all of this. So how did it feel? How was the experience being raised in a family full of men and being the first woman to be able to go forward and do this? I think that's really inspiring. So how did it feel to you, and how did it feel to your family and everybody around you? How was that experience?
I must say it was not easy. It's surely giving me goosebumps even when I remember those instances. My family discussions itself were giving me that feeling that I don't belong here. Like every time those little comments like we were expecting first child to be, I'm the first child of my house, and the first child to be a male child. God. And then I appeared. So half part of my life I was just trying to be a male. So that I can show how I can earn and do better for the family. Although I now realize that that's not required. Being a female is good enough. And whatever I am, I'm good, right? Coming from that mindset, it was surely challenging to keep on convincing others and myself that why do I need to earn? Why do I need to go out? Why do I need to study? And I can do everything on my own. I am self-sustaining. I can be independent. I can make choices. I can make decisions. All those things were always doubtful for me.
Yeah.
Moreover, being the eldest of the family, my parents, who have been instrumental in helping me throughout, they used to rely on me for their business as well. So I still remember my college days. Before going to college as well, it was a huge discussion in the family whether I am allowed to go out of my city. I studied in Patiala, which is almost 100 kilometers from Ludhiana. Patiala is an education hub. You'll find all good universities for medical and engineering there. So the question was whether they would allow me to go out or not. The discussions were happening. Then somehow one of my school friends, she was also female, they convinced her parents that how both of us should go and study, and both of us took the room there and I was studying there. So during my college days, I never spent a weekend there in my college or hostel.
Okay.
I used to be just a call away for my parents to come back home, handle the business so that they can handle their illness, the medical stuff, or sometimes the regular household stuff. They can go out, they can get some time out. So every weekend I used to be home, traveling back home. So I was managing not just my studies but also family business.
Wow. So you always had the business gene.
Yes.
Despite everything, despite you struggling to go to college, you fighting for your stand in the family, you still always had the business gene. So I think that is a good thing, because you knew that this is something that you can do, right? So your parents were very supportive of it.
They were supportive of me earning, me being independent. But how much are they supportive of me going out in the market and pitching for business and doing business that we haven't, all of it, I'm yet to explore.
What was the first professional and personal success that you actually faced after moving on from this? Was it corporate? Did you go to corporate first, or did you do business first?
I went for job.
Okay.
So during our college days, we used to have placement drives. Companies used to come. Fortunately, the first company that came and everyone was aspiring for, it was a Fortune 500 company. Definitely not Infosys I'm talking about, but a product-based company. My interview rounds went really well. They selected some 12 students out of the entire lot of 4,000.
Wow.
And I got selected. I still consider that as my first step towards earning, my first step towards success, or to understand what's there in store for me next. So that's what I would say was my first career success, landing myself a job at the age of 21.
Wow. So out of all 400 people, you were one of 12 people that were selected.
4,000.
4,000 people. Wow. So eventually you transitioned into entrepreneurship and consulting. So can you tell us a little about that? How did that happen? And also, tap into the fact that, you came to Bangalore. Did it happen because this also gave you a push to come this far and then move into a different field altogether?
So coming down to Bangalore, I got exposed to different ethnicities. I got exposed to different people. Most of my friends, my colleagues were from different states. So that exposure was very much important. And that's where I realized that I want to do more, not just a job. So I went for a course here in Bangalore. That's for image consulting and personal branding. I completed my course. After completing my course, I resigned from my job. And that was my first stint at entrepreneurship. That was into coaching, personal branding, soft skills training. The reason I wanted to get into that was more from the lines that when we are all engineers, when we all are working on technical skills, as they say, we are hired for our technical skills, but we are fired for our soft skills. If there are behavioral issues, or if someone is being extremely rude or not able to perform. So soft skills is a domain that I wanted to explore. Along with that, public speaking and communication skills became my niche after landing my first national level exposure. It was not just the first one. Consecutively for 4 to 5 years, I was landing myself in that conference every year for different topic, talking about leadership, talking about networking, talking about niche topics. And it's like they get some 2,000 papers every year, and there are very few that get selected. And I was getting selected every year. So this is something that was becoming addictive for me. So that's why I went into training background and coaching background. More from my side, as well as what I wanted to achieve with that.
Right.
From there on, I almost it was 2020 when I started with this, and COVID.
Oh no. Okay.
And when you're new, when you're trying to do something different, this kind of setback is very, very difficult. I waited for almost 3 years, trying to do some projects here and there. It was not completely, for me, it was never like that I don't have work. I always had something or the other to do. Some conference or some client, whether online or offline, it was still happening. But that was still not good enough to sustain or to grow further. I came across this one opportunity with this fine gentleman, Mr. Saurabh Datta. He and me, we both started our companies back during COVID. He was also dealing with a few stuff on his own during COVID, staying afloat, and I was doing it on my own, stay afloat. But then we realized that why do we need to do it separately, being each other's competitors? Let's join hands and do it together.
Nice.
From there itself, from that moment on, the moment we started working together, it's been 1.5 years now. It's like we are now landing new client every month, and it's going new clients every month.
Wow.
And it's just growing and growing and growing. It's no looking back.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you tell us a little about, personal branding, about your venture, just to understand what you guys do? Because you guys were initially rival companies, but then you joined hands, right? So a little bit about personal branding, what you did separately and what you guys are doing together as well right now.
Okay, so personal branding is what I started with, but that was not the niche that was giving me that strong a kick. Because there's much more that we can do when it comes to soft skills and consulting and training and all of that.
Yeah.
So when we joined hands together, it was not just about personal branding. It was about what we both together can offer.
Right.
So that's where we started with business consulting.
Okay.
So Practive is all about ETC, but not particularly in that order. It starts is events, T is training, and C is consulting. Our most important vertical, the most focused vertical is consulting, business consulting. When it comes to business consulting, we see what our client is facing, what kind of challenge our client is facing. Based on that, we provide fractional leadership as a service, or rather, if I may say, CXO as a service.
Okay.
Which means if we look at startups or local companies, MSMEs, they don't have the bandwidth or the funds to go for McKinsey's or Bain's, right? But it's not that they're doing business properly.
Yeah.
They are just sustaining. So for the entrepreneurs or businessmen who want to grow, they're looking for consulting services, and that's where we come in handy. So consulting covers CXO service. Some people need a CEO to run the entire show, to at least help put the entire house in order. Some people need CEO, like operations. They are not able to handle the operations because they don't have the team to handle operations. They know that this is what they're doing.
Right.
They are bringing business, but operations who's going to handle the back end. They don't have.
Got it.
Some people need CMO, like Chief Marketing Officer. For marketing, they don't have the digital marketing or PR person who is bringing in press for certain events, or ensuring that the press release is happening, or some retail campaigns are happening, or digital marketing is happening, the website is in place.
Right.
Some people need CHRO. The HR services, yes, they need hiring support, they need learning and development support, they need some culture issues are there, and they need somebody to handle those culture issues and ensure the house is in order.
Can you share with us any success stories that you've had with any of your clients, if you could mention it? How has it been?
We have this one client who comes from a similar background that I have had. Regular business family, in business from last 35 years. The father has established the business and he's doing pretty well in his business.
Yeah.
Now the son has come into picture. The son has studied from MBA and has joined his father for his business, and then he realized that the way his father is running business is not actually the way it should run.
Okay.
Because he has learned something else in MBA.
Right. Right.
He has learned that you have to be friends with the employees. You can't just treat them badly.
Yeah.
But his father says that if you don't treat your blue-collared workers like this, they will sit on your head and start jumping. And that has worked for him for last 35 years. Why wouldn't he believe so? There was a huge mismatch between the company, two owners. One was the son and the father.
Yeah.
Then there was a mismatch in the company culture. The way son was running, people were more friendly with him, but at the same time, people were finding it difficult to cope up with both the cultures.
Right.
One side, you're seeing someone is very nice to you, the employees, and the other side, they're seeing that someone is shouting at you, which
Yeah.
was working for them for last 35 years. Now suddenly they have started seeing the other side of it. These were all loyal workers for last 20 years, 25 years. Not everyone was new. So that's where our job was to work as an at the CHRO to ensure that there is a proper culture in the company. That's where we started training those blue-collared workers. So, okay, I have worked with blue-collared workers all my life. Like I said, I come from business family.
Yeah.
I started working when I was in 6th standard. That was the first order I landed and I ensured I fulfilled when I was in 6th standard. So I was working with blue-collared workers then. And I've been from that background, so I could easily relate to what was happening here. And that's where we as Practive intervened as CHRO. We started training these employees. We started coaching the father and the son to bring them both on same page so that there are no family fights happening.
Oh, wow.
And the culture is now set. It's been almost 8 months since we are training them on various topics. We are training them, understanding them, ensuring that everything is in place. So that's something I would say is the success metric for us, that when they approached us, it was more like we need digital marketing services. We are also providing digital marketing and other services to them. But their prime problem after speaking to them was this, the point that I shared. So we are working on both the aspects with them, and it's working pretty well.
That's fantastic. I think the company culture is the pillar that the entire company stands on. And if you were able to bridge that gap and make it run smoothly, I think that's commendable personally to them as well, not just professionally. I think that's a personal gain that you might have had along the way, right?
True. It feels really good that a business is sustaining because of your efforts.
Exactly.
Something that was not working out for them, and you are intervening, helping those people to grow. Not just the owners of the company, but also the workers. There's no attrition so far. That it was happening very often previously, but now there's no attrition so far, and everyone is very, very happy working in the company, working with us, the owners, the workers, everyone. So that's a personal success, or rather something that helps you sleep at night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, people usually leave bad bosses, not bad jobs, right? It really depends on who you work with more than what you work with. So I think that if you were able to bridge that gap, then that's fantastic. So can you share with us any of the challenges that you had? Because I feel like this job also has a personal take as well, because you're also invested. But professionally also, it seems very intense and heavy. It's a lot for you to manage and handle as a team. So what are the biggest challenges that you faced in the process of doing this?
The biggest challenge for a business consulting business is scalability.
Okay.
So every project that comes in, it's either me or my partner. We both have to be invested. Either of us or both of us are invested. So that's where we have got only 24 hours. We can't invest more than 24 hours per day in all these projects, right? So that's where scalability becomes an issue. You can't scale it. You can't create a copy of yourself and put more people in this. You can't have 100 projects of your own. The business in itself is scalable in terms of we can have more clients. We can have a lot of clients because the concept is nice. We are getting a lot of projects, but we have to say no to few people because of our bandwidth. Right. Our services are not scalable. Our time is no more than 24 hours. Yeah. So that's a bigger challenge, I would say, in consulting domain.
Just from a business standpoint, how do you think you stand out in terms of anybody else who provides these services? And why should people come to Team Practive?
That's an interesting question, because that's where I would really like to talk a lot about us. at the risk of bragging, I must say. When it comes to consulting, most of the companies or most of the existing people who are in this domain, what they do is they tell you what is going on wrong. They'll charge you for that. And then once you try to implement something and then you fail, they will tell you what else is going on wrong. Okay. For us, it doesn't work like that. For us, we are invested from day one and sometimes day zero as well with the client, where we tell them that this is the problem, this is a solution, and we are also executing that solution, implementing that solution for the clients.
Right.
And then the clients hold us accountable for the success metrics. So whatever we suggested is not working out for them. We sit with them, we implement that, then we show that this is how it will work. That's the strongest offering that we have,
Right.
in terms of consulting, because we are not just speaking it out, it's not just words, but actions involved with this.
So you have an effective team put together that actually delivers and makes those changes instead of just pointing out the errors.
Right. It's we have got a very good team who ensures that whatever we are offering to the client, it gets delivered on time. Very hardworking team.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with the kind of team that we are putting together, because our team doesn't come from the Ivy League colleges of India. We are putting together a team from very different all different states of India. Different background. When we are hiring people, you're not looking at their background in terms of what they have done so far. There is suppose somebody has worked as an engineer for last 6 years. They want to do business development now.
Yeah.
We just look at the will of the person and the energy that person is ready to invest in terms of learning this particular skill, and that's how we are building our team. So the team is more based on the will factor as well as their passion for that particular show. We ensure that when we are interviewing or when we are hiring, we understand whether this person has a passion and the will for that particular role that person is applying for. That kind of translates in me as well. If I look at the mix of directors we have, it's me and my partner. My partner comes with more than 3 decades of experience, close to two and a half or 3 decades of experience in business domain. And on the other side, I have 1.5 decades of experience. That's like almost 15 years of gap.
Yeah.
Right? He could have also mentioned the same, that why are you my business partner?
Yeah.
Why are you here? You don't qualify to be here unless you have 2.5 decades of experience, or you come from an Ivy League college, studied all of those things, and we are equals. But we are equals here in this domain because he understands that there are some skill sets that I bring to the table. I understand that there are some skill sets and experience he brings to the table.
Right.
And we both are working on building those skill sets and ensuring that we are offering to the client. So put together, we have got close to 40 years of experience for our client.
Combined. Wow, that's great.
Along with our team, which is working hard in the background, ensuring that whatever we are committing to the clients, they are offering, they are fulfilling that.
Yeah.
So that's our team.
That's great. So coming to the team, can you tell us about your culture, a little bit about your company culture, and what your vision is as a company? What is your goal in the next couple of years? Where do you see yourself as a company as a whole with your team together?
So our team is a mix of people from various states. So surely we are pro work from home people. We don't want people to log in hours. We just tell them that these are the tasks that you need to perform. Whether you are a digital marketer, whether you are a social media manager, whether you are a content writer, this is what is on your plate. You tell me when can you finish this. It should be reasonable. It should be realistic for both the parties, and then they agree on it and they deliver. Now, where do we see ourselves in the next, let's say, 2 years or 5 years down the line? I would say the vision and the goal is to expand our team in non-tech space.
Yeah.
Maybe an Infosys or Tech Mahindra or Wipro. With the scale with which we are growing, I'm sure we will have all the marketeers and all non-tech roles filled in are hired in our company and reaching to success.
That's great.
That's all. We are going to hire all these people and ensure that they are growing with us. I got inspired by Sridhar Vemu, the CEO of Zoho. He has already followed this particular format previously. This is a tried and tested method. It worked for him, where he has hired people from the nook and corner of different parts of India and ensured that these people are being trained to work in the workforce and then delivering success.
Right.
So this is already a tried and tested method that we are following. If it worked for him, he's doing pretty well. It will work for us as well.
That's fantastic. That's great. So thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Nancy, for being here. And we'll see you at the next episode.